back to the Atlanta Boxing Podcast. I am your host, Joshua El Venenoso Rodriguez, alongside the champ.
Quite right, Christian Steele.
It's a nice touch, man. We got a new one there. There we go.
Yeah,
We gotta before we start anything, happy birthday to you, sir.
thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man.
Now I'm 2 years older than you, right? Three
Yeah,
years.
it's nice to see that there's somebody here who's got just as much gray as me coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we know all that gray is wisdom. You've got a lot of experience. You've got a lot of fights under your belt. We always appreciate your perspective, man. And I just want to tell you personally, I really am glad that you're doing this show. We're doing this show together.
Absolutely.
Your
Wow.
professional insights, your personality, your experience, and just that again, that overall wisdom that you're bringing is most appreciated, man. So thank you for doing this with me.
My man. My man.
Right on. We also want to give a shout out to all the fans. We want to thank you for following, subscribing. Don't forget to do so. We've been trying to follow some of the fights. I appreciate everybody watching us at the Primo fight. He got another victory. Shout out to Primo for that. Shout out to Six for his win and his victory as well. Some local fighters that we've seen. And there's some other guys that we're going to be following up and showing as time goes on. We've got the new merch. Yeah.
Pick your flavor. Pick your flavor, whichever you want.
Pick your flavor. We got more colors coming. We got some collaborations coming up, and we want everybody to just make sure that you're sharing the word to get that name out there. We appreciate all the love that we're getting, so we'll just get right into it. Rest in peace to marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Absolutely. One of the greatest middleweights ever.
I was reading about him, and we were talking about this earlier. 50 fights in 7 years before he became the world middleweight champion.
Yeah, and it might not sound like much to most people, but as a fighter, I know and understand the toll that it takes on your body, man. 50 fights a year, he was averaging. 50 fights in 7 years, he was averaging around like 7 fights a year. That's a lot. That means you never come out of camp. You just stay in fight mode for a whole 7 years straight. That's a lot, man. That's a
You got
lot.
your sleeping bag right by the ring.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
For a professional fighter these days, do you think that it's realistic to have 50 fights within that short period of time, or average 7 to 8 fights a year? I know some people do it probably when they're starting out, but you know, some of these athletes, that's not really happening these days anymore, is it?
Not really, man. The game has changed a lot. And like, it's not necessarily, it's all about fighting one time or a couple of times and making the most money you can. It's not necessarily about being the best. The reason they fought so often back in the day because they wanted to prove that they were the actual best. So they're willing to fight whoever to show that. Now the game changed a little bit. It's more so about being perceived as the best versus actually being the best.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't see that. You don't see people with a whole lot of fights like that anymore, like you did back in the day.
And I guess
It
that's,
has its pros and cons to it, though. It has its pros and cons to it.
yeah, I was just about to say that, right? There's the pros and cons, I guess, because of the fact of what we're doing now, right? We're using social media to get the word out there and talk about this sport that we love, classic boxing, boxing from Atlanta, boxing across the globe.
Right.
And you know that you're going to see more and more people utilizing social media in order to promote themselves, which is okay. They should.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them, and we'll leave them nameless, probably are a little bit more popular than they should be, and people want to see them.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother topic. But coming up
yeah.
and battling through the rings, you know, rest in peace to Marvin Hagler. You know, there was a fight that I watched him against one of my favorites, Duran, Manos de Piedras, and it's just that was a phenomenal fight. I mean, that was 15 rounds. Nobody goes 15 rounds anymore.
No, absolutely. I mean, for good reason, of course, for good reason. But yeah, and then you still got to also take into fact another great fight was still arguably even to this day, the greatest 3 rounds of boxing was him and Tommy Hearns.
And Tommy Hearns, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's probably the most popular fight, the one that
Yeah.
he's known for the most, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But then people fail to realize like those were like some of the big fights, but he had a lot of other tough fights he took on before he even got to that platform to be able to fight Marvin Hagler and stuff like that. He went out searching for the best. He truly wanted to be the best, so he went out. You know what I mean, seeking the best fighters in the boxing cities, and Philly being one of them as well. You know what I'm saying? He had a lot of fights up there. You know what I mean? Cyclone Hart, Jesse Hart's dad, um, what's his name? The Mongoose, Willie
Yep.
Monroe. I mean,
Yep.
he fought a lot of people up there.
Yep.
He wanted to actually be the best.
And that's the thing. Fighters really aren't doing that much anymore. So that's why we want to pay our respects. That was a real warrior. That's a
Yeah,
boxing warrior, right?
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
You're listening to the Atlanta Boxing Podcast.
I guess what we can do now is probably just run into the fact of some of the fights that have happened. You know, we want to give our perspective on some of the previous ones. And, you know, I think some real warriors that we just saw on DAZN was Chocolatito and Estrada, right?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. He was one of the most recent ones um, to date. But that was a great fight, man. It was a controversial fight. It could have went either way. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people say Chocolatito won, but you know, the game is a certain way, man. Chocolatito's getting older, so they need to put him on Estrada's resume so he can build Estrada's brand up, so he can become a more relevant fighter nowadays.
Yeah, and I think another thing that maybe, I don't know, has a part of this, and then sometimes this is just my opinion on it, right? It's Mexico versus Nicaragua. There's a lot of favoritism for the Mexican fighters, with good reason, right? I mean, they're the ones who are they've made a name for themselves.
Market's bigger there from a standpoint, business standpoint. The market's bigger there.
Yeah, yeah. So what would you say as far as the actual boxing styles, though? Did you appreciate anything from either one of them, from Estrada or from Chocolatito, that you noticed that stood out to you?
Nothing necessarily stood out to me. You know what I mean? They're both great fighters in my opinion. But it was just like I said, more of the same with Chocolatito, man. He's a slick fighter.
Yeah,
He has shows a lot of skill. He doesn't just have the regular, typical Hispanic fighter mentality where you just go to war. He's like,
right.
I mean, very tactical in there.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not like I said, it wasn't nothing different that he did to wow me this time.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kept seeing him go in a lot with his hands covered, trying
Yeah.
to find the angles, trying to find the openings, almost fighting on his front foot. That was my observation. Something that I didn't see in the first fight, because that was the second time they got together.
Right.
And lots of punches, man.
Yeah. Well, the smaller you are, the more punches you throw, man.
And they threw all the way through the first 12, all through the 12 rounds. I mean, they said they averaged like 2,000 punches the first fight.
That's
And
crazy.
this fight, I don't remember the amount, but like within the fourth or fifth round, there's a minimum of 100 punches each round.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's insane.
It is, man. But I mean, it's understood from a scientific standpoint. They don't have as much weight, therefore they don't have to use as much energy
Right.
to, you know what I mean, throw their punches. So that makes
Exactly.
sense.
So we can see it slow down with, like, say, a fight of when that we saw the Caleb Plant versus Caleb Truax. That was a little bit more tactical, a little bit more patient fighting from Caleb Plant.
But it goes back to what I was just saying about, I mean, like I always talk about the business side of it and using the name to put on your resume. Caleb Truax was a former champion, so he's older in age now. I think he was 37 or 38. So it's time to put him on Caleb Plant's resume to make him seem even more relevant. Not taking anything away from him, he is a great fighter, but he needs some names on his resume to be able to build himself up to get that Canelo fight.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say too. Is that's a good one to set up and see, you know, how he's going to fight and how he's going to respond against a former champion to get ready for Canelo.
Right.
How do you maybe look into the future real quick? What do you say, Plant and Canelo? What are your thoughts on that one?
I'm gonna give it to Canelo. Though Canelo has issues with boxers, he always has. I'm still gonna give it to Canelo just because of the experience, man. Caleb Plant didn't have enough experience yet. He can box, yes, but I don't think he has enough experience yet with fighters of that magnitude. And that's a huge jump for him.
Yeah.
Now he sparred with people obviously at that level. Like I remember him being in Atlanta, being in camp with Demetrius Andre coming down for his camps. So he sparred at that level, but it's different sparring with those 16-ounce gloves and headgear versus those 10-ounce gloves at their weight class.
Yeah. And speaking of sparring, I guess that's what a lot of people feel about that last Canelo fight, that it was just a fight to, with one of his sparring partners just to keep him active.
Yeah, absolutely. Granted, he was the #1 contender, you know what I mean? But he still was just a sparring partner for Canelo, and that's why the fight turned out the way that it did.
Yeah. So we'll keep a close eye out on that one.
Yeah.
For the ladies, Clarissa Shields, Marie-Eve DeCaire.
Yeah.
I hope I'm saying that right. Please forgive me, ladies, if I say it wrong.
Listen, I've been calling it Kyrie, so I'm not sure.
Kyrie, okay.
Somebody will correct it if it's wrong.
That was also a very tactical fight, right?
No disrespect to it. Yeah, but even so, man, and that it was obviously it was going to be Clarissa, man. It's more of the same for her as well. Clarissa is a great fighter, man. It's just unfortunate that she's in a weight class where ain't no competition really. So, you know what I'm saying? And then she's too high up to meet in the midway point with any of the other great fighters.
Yeah.
So we'll never be able to really tell how great she actually is because she's not getting tested. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The one person that tested her was what's my girl name? I can't think of her name right now. They dropped her in the earlier rounds, but she came back and dominated for the rest of the fight. It'll come back to me.
It'll come back.
Yeah, but yeah, man. So unfortunately, she's in a weight class where she can't really get the just due for how good she actually is because she any competition.
Right. And just for everybody out there, that's Steele's camera freezing up a little bit. That's not your system at all in any way. He's old man uses old technology.
I ain't know it froze. My fault.
It's all good. But I tell you the one that we went and saw together, Burchelt versus Valdez. Now that was fire.
It was. And going into the fight, right? Who'd you have going into the fight? Who'd you pick going into the fight?
I picked Burchelt just because of his reputation, right? More experienced fighter.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
You're listening to the Atlanta Boxing Podcast.
Initially, my first initial thought was Burchelt, but then after I thought about it a little bit more, I was like, nah, I'm going with Valdez. Like Valdez is a dog, man. Like,
yeah.
Valdez is one of the unique type of people, man. You have them in every sport. You have the Dennis Rodmans, you have the Lawrence Taylors in football, Dennis Rodmans in basketball. Yeah. They all have this unique mentality. Oscar Valdez is one like that just in boxing, man. You know, he plays with alligators. It's not much that's going to intimidate this dude that's going to be able to break him. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't even more so the fact that he got in the camp with Canelo that helped him anything. I just think it was the mentality, man. He wasn't going to be denied because that's just how his mentality is.
Yeah. Yeah, he came in hungry. He came in aggressive.
He came in hungry, starving. Now, also, from a fighter perspective or coach's perspective, man, I look at it also like they should have stopped that fight a lot sooner than they actually did.
Right.
Burchelt took a lot of punishment. You know what I'm saying? But that's that, Mexican machismo in him that wanted to keep letting him fight. But when he got hurt in that 4th round, he was already gone for real. Legs was shot. He barely stand up when he was asking if he's all right. He got saved by the bell, but not necessarily. All that did was prolong the beating.
Valdez was punishing him. Like he was coming with some overhand rights. He kept throwing that thing the whole time.
Yeah, well, he couldn't get out of the way of it at that point because he was already hurt. His legs was already shot.
Yeah.
The coaches should have stepped in before that, way before he actually got knocked out, in my personal opinion. They should have put the pride aside and saved him, you know what I'm saying? Save him from himself. As a fighter, your mentality is, I'll go out on my shield. You know what I'm saying? I'll go out on my shield. That's what I signed up for. I understand the risk I'm going into it. But as a trainer, you got to save him from himself. So you got to save a fighter from himself. Like, I understand you want to be a warrior, but you got a family at home. My job is to protect you.
Exactly. And I like the 300 reference, right? When you go out on your shield, both of them, they wanted to come in, they wanted to make their mark. But at the end of the day, Valdez got the best of him, and now he's moving on.
Yeah.
I don't know if Burchell should retire. I don't know if I want to jump on that bandwagon yet or not, but
Yeah. Not off of one fight. I
yeah,
don't think he should be carried just yet off of that. Just that loss alone. You gotta see how he bounces back from it, man.
right.
It was a bad knockout for sure, but it just depends on how he bounces back from it. If he comes back and he's still confident, and he'll continue to beat some other people. But if he's, kind of gun shy now and he's worried about getting touched like that, then yeah, he might want to go ahead and hang it up because he ain't gonna be able to be the same person again.
Right. So speaking of bouncing back, we can move on to your boy, AB.
Yeah, I know,
Who's your
right?
Brona? With that Santiago
Problem.
fight. Was
The
that
problem?
I'm back fight?
No, I didn't make that type of statement in my opinion.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest.
Be honest.
I was more impressed and proud of the journey of him getting back to that point to be able to get to that platform and fight a fight like that
Yeah.
than his actual performance. You know what I'm saying? That was more encouraging and empowering than his actual performance was. More believable, I should say. Performance was, it's regular. Even that was a close fight. I scored it for Broner as a win, but a lot of people thought Santiago won. I did actually score it for Broner. Santiago won some of them earlier rounds, but Broner started picking it up in the later rounds. But again, like I said, the journey back was more impressive than anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The guy, Broner, everybody knows how Broner gets down on outside the ring, and he parties and drinks and hangs out and all kind of stuff. Weight blew up to 180 plus pounds. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to get back down to weigh in at 147 and fight at 147 was a great accomplishment, man. And I can attest to it. I'm actually in the process of doing it myself, so I know how hard that is. And the type of discipline and dedication you got to have to be able to do it. But
We appreciate
yeah,
the nugget.
hats off to him for that, huh?
We appreciate that little nugget of information.
Yeah.
Just gave us a little
Absolutely.
sneak peek into something. We won't announce it yet, right? But
Good one. It's a good one.
we'll definitely keep an ear out. All you listeners, pay attention. Pay attention to what Steele is saying. Pay attention to that. Yeah. So, that's the thing. Like, so I have to admit that too, right? I mean, for me, when I fought, to lose that amount of weight, to do it within a short period of time, to get in that type of conditioning, I know the type of dedication it took while doing it on a regular, like working a full-time job, right? So that's something that, is tough for anybody to do. And I know it was tough for me, not to say it was the same as Broner, but I went down 20 something pounds. 40 something pounds is just,
That's crazy, man.
that's nuts, right?
It is, absolutely.
And for somebody to be able to do that and maintain the speed, the agility, and power, that goes to show what kind of a really great athlete that he is.
Yeah. And then it was off, I think, a 2-year layoff or something like that too. So all of that factors in, man, the ring rust and all of that. But I think he'll be back again. Will he be the Broner that he was in his prime? Probably not. But will he be back and have enough to be able to give entertaining, competitive fights? Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we hope so, at least, right? I mean, that's the thing. When we talk about this sport, we want to see good, entertaining fights.
Right.
Not really a whole lot we can do about the drama outside of the ring.
Yeah.
But inside the ring, that's where it counts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that fight, though, Santiago, because he put up such a good performance, nobody really knew who he was before that fight, except for his family, probably. You know what I'm saying? But because he put on such a good show, and that catapulted him and brought his stock up, so he's gonna be able to get some big paydays now too.
You know what? That's actually a good point. So I wasn't even thinking about it from the Santiago perspective, and I guess that can happen a lot, right? Because the big name will overshine the person who's unknown.
Absolutely.
So what do you think the future would hold then for Santiago? Like, who do you think he'd be able to fight in that weight class or close to it?
They're gonna put him in with some of the big names, man, at 147. Maybe not the top echelon, the Terrence Crawford and stuff like that, but definitely some bigger names and up and coming prospects. They're gonna put him in there with to see if he's really, at that level, that caliber fighter.
Right on.
You're listening to the Atlanta Boxing Podcast.
we hope that we can see some more of our fights. We want to definitely cover more fights here in Atlanta. There's some other fights that'll be coming up. I know, again, Primo will be fighting here pretty soon. There's a couple other guys that have some fights coming up. Is there anybody that you're maybe looking for?
Nobody in particular, man. I'm just looking to see how all of them do, man. Right now, Atlanta is booming a little bit on the professional fight level, man, because a lot of places are still shut down because of COVID, but Atlanta is wide open, so a lot of people are coming here to actually put their shows on.
Right.
So if you're a young fighter right now, get in shape, stay in shape. Atlanta is the spot to be when it comes to fight.
So that's actually a really good point, right? It's don't get ready, stay ready.
Yeah, stay ready, man. Stay
You know?
ready. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
You don't got to get ready. And if you're a fighter here in Atlanta, because the virus, and this is why we're doing this podcast virtually right now, we eventually want to get back to that point where we can do this live together again. And out of respect for everybody out there who's being mindful of the virus, this could actually be something really positive for Atlanta because of that, because of it being so open, to your point, right? And you know, you see the flexibility that's here in the South. Everybody comes down here, everybody's spending time. That influx of fighting, do you think that could change the landscape overall for the city?
Yeah, I think it could change the narrative of boxing. Because it won't just be looked at, or the South, and it won't just be looked at as a place to get opponents from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We'll bring more marquee fighters to the and big name fighters to these venues here. And just bring more notoriety to the fighters in the South. Because the bigger the fighters that come here, the more the up and comers can get here and get more recognition as well.
Right on.
So it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, I know there's one fighter that I want to see. He'll remain nameless at this time. So once he starts fighting again, then that'll definitely start bringing a little bit more impact, hopefully for.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
You know. But
yeah.
say that again.
It's always good to see another shark back in the water, man.
It's always good to see the shark back in the water, man. No matter how much time they spend out, but hey, the comeback itself shows how hungry that person can be.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. One more. Speaking of comeback again, though, man, I just happened to see it yesterday. Oscar De La Hoya just announced he's coming back July 3rd. 48 years old. What do you think about that?
You know, I guess it makes sense, right? I think that when Oscar De La Hoya, he had a great career. He fought some of the greatest fighters. I remember watching him fight Mayweather. I remember watching him fight Trinidad. He's a phenomenal fighter, right? And
you're listening to the Atlanta Boxing Podcast.
I think there were some fights that he probably should not have won, but he did. But anyway, that's regardless. The point being that it makes sense because now you have a lot of these older fighters coming back. You know, the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. kind of sparked this revolution. It was, you know, it's not new that a fighter's tried to come back before.
Right.
But that fight, I think, kind of sparked an opportunity for these fighters to say, you know what, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to show them what I used to do. I'm going to show them what I learned. And at the end of the day, I am a fighter. I want to fight again.
That's why I can attest to that, man. At the end of the day, a fighter is always going to be a fighter, man. The love for combat and competition and wanting to fight is always going to be there. Some can suppress it better than others, but overall, it's always going to be there. You know what I'm saying? It's I think, like you said, the Mike and Roy Jones fight, it gave everybody else the confidence to say, yo, I can do it too. They can do it, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? It affected me to a certain extent. I won't say so.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm a lot younger than them, and I retired earlier than them, and I'm feeling bad. But still, though, you know what I mean, it's like riding a bike. You might not be able to do it as fast as you used to, but you can still do it though.
Right. You're a smarter bike rider.
Exactly.
You can go a lot longer.
Exactly.
You know how to ride up and down the hills differently, or whatever the case is. I'm not going to keep coming up with analogies, but
exactly.
Definitely, that's an excellent point. You're going to be smarter. So I know something you told me. If we can get over our own ego, right? We get over our own ego and just focus on the fight itself, not trying to do anything outside of our limits, not trying to let our ego get the best of us and think that we can still fight the same way. So, that goes back to your point, right? Like with De La Hoya coming back,
Yeah.
if he doesn't allow his ego to take over, then whoever they put him up with, which I think would be really interesting to find out, who would he fight? Um, that should be a really entertaining fight because even though it might be an exhibition, is it going to be an exhibition or a pro? Do we know? Is it going to be sanctioned?
Not sure yet. Not sure. He just said July 3rd. I happened to see it yesterday.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, okay. Everybody's got the bug right now, man. Everybody's got the bug. De La Hoya, it's mainly been heavyweights and stuff talking about coming back. Holyfield, James, Tony, Mike Tyson, but now, like I said, lighter people are coming back with De La Hoya. So that's pretty cool. Oh, I want to see it, man. I'm interested in seeing it for sure. Also, yesterday was we didn't get to touch on that or talk about that much, but Dylan White came back and redeemed himself, man.
Okay.
Yeah, he came back and redeemed himself on the zone and knocked out Povetkin. A couple months back, last year, Povetkin caught him, I think it was the 5th round or 4th round, knocked him out with a brutal uppercut. And was I think, a candidate for knockout of the year, if I'm not mistaken. But that first fight, it was already going back and forth. They had already dropped each other.
Yeah.
Before, but he happened to catch him with a shot and ended Dylan White with that one shot. So Dylan White, they fought again yesterday on the zone, and he got the 4th round stoppage, man. He redeemed himself. So big shout out to him, and now he's in the works for getting a fight with Wilder now, based off of that.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that should be something to see in the end too, right? Like, I mean, there's some other heavyweights that we want to watch fight. I think is Fury and Joshua is coming up too, right?
Right. It's in the talks. So I don't know if they finalized everything yet, but they definitely in negotiations for that. What's your pick on that? What's your prediction?
Man, I will say again, I got to go with Fury. Mm-hmm. There's something different with Fury. It's not about his flashy personality. I think when he just goes in and trains and boxes, he's got something in his head. He's still hungry.
Yeah.
Right. Like a lot of fighters, when they start winning, they become flashy. They wear the crazy outfits. They talk a lot of smack. Mm-hmm. They lose focus of the fight.
Right.
But Fury has just shown the last couple of times that it doesn't care what he's gone through. I'm going to say he's probably going to get it. Now, I will also say this. I also feel that Joshua is going to come back redetermined. You know what I mean? I think Anthony Joshua has probably a few naysayers. He's a popular fighter over in the UK, but between these two guys, the UK bash or whatever they want to call it, however they want to promote that, in front of their home crowd, that's going to be a really, really electric fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who you got?
It's Tyson Fury for me, man.
Yeah.
Joshua's already shown, man. I have a real old school. I'm pretty biased, man. I have an old school mentality, man. I always feel like the person who has a stronger will is going to win.
Right.
You know? Joshua showed me his will can be broken already. So I lost a lot of faith in him based off of that, man. And he still has a lot of flaws. His chin is up in the air all the time.
Yeah.
Fury's already told me you can't break. He's already showed me that he can't be broken. I mean, physically or psychologically. You know what I'm saying? They come back from depression and contemplating suicide, and I mean, losing 100+ pounds, and coming
taking
back.
A punch from Wilder, getting up that punch from Wilder.
Getting up off the mat when the first fight with Wilder. When that shot put everybody else down cold. You know what I mean? For him to bounce back off of that and then come back and stop Wilder in the next fight shows the mentality and the will that he has. So I don't think Anthony Joshua has enough for him, man. So I think he's gonna break him, honestly.
There's not, yeah. You mentioned the word will, the will to win, right? Mm-hmm. That's the heart of a fighter. Mm-hmm. You've got the will to win. You've gone through all that adversity. That's key. That's definitely the key to all of this, right? And
absolutely. The will to win is going to determine who comes out with a W, man.
Absolutely.
You got a stronger will. So I got Fury, but I don't see none of these heavyweights beating Fury right now, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, hopefully he'll be around for a little while, and somebody will contend. Somebody will give him a challenge.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he hasn't had any other challenges, but
yeah, no, absolutely.
You know, more so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Well, we appreciate your time again. I know you've this is your birthday weekend, so I'm pretty sure you want to get back to the family, but we want to tell you and all the listeners, we appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Again, the fact that we're available on so many different social media channels, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Please, guys, go out there, subscribe. I appreciate the fact everyone is out there watching and taking a look at the social media, but subscribe to it. Get the updates. Let your social media be flooded with the fact that we're giving you content, especially if you like it. If you really have learned something and appreciate something from this, we want you to share your thoughts and your feedback. Steele and I are both very open people. We're very open to allowing communication. We'll reach out to you. We'll talk to you. We'll answer questions. If you want to learn something about the sport of boxing, Steele is definitely going to be the one to teach you. If you want to just be a guest, reach out to me directly or to him. If you want some of the new merchandise, let us know. We've got more shirts, color combinations coming up. We've got some other ideas coming up for different types of merchandise. Hopefully we can work out something with these guys eventually at some point, but hey, we'll see what happens, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Any closing thoughts that you have for everybody before we sign off today?
Now, like you said, man, to piggyback off what you said, just go ahead and follow, man. Subscribe and follow us. And don't try to jump on the bandwagon later on, man. Just hop on with us now. And we all eat at the top, man.
That's an excellent way to segue to our ending, because our next topic that we'll be talking is going to be about loyalty in boxing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
The loyalty between the fighters, the loyalty between coaches, the loyalty in general of what it means to be a boxer. So we appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. Subscribe to everything. Got any questions, reach out to us. And welcome back to our corner. This is the Atlanta Boxing Podcast. We'll see you again soon.